you're not really, really tall, no problem. You can make it short. So this is a tripod that I use for YouTube videos. I also use it when I go out to shoot wedding videos, marketing videos, anything. It really comes in handy. It's only when I'm shooting, a very expensive movie with a very heavy camera that I would probably buy a different tripod. But Bellbond is a good tripod to start out with. All right. So we got our camera, and now let's talk a little bit about lighting. So today, there are a ton of great lighting products. In fact, if you go on Amazon right now, if you looked up Amazon on your phone and you looked up LED light panels or lighting for video, you're going to find literally 1,000 different products. And the chances are at least 100 of them are going to work for you, because there are so many different people making lighting products nowadays. The one I like to use is Dracast. And Dracast, I'll admit they're a little bit pricey, but they're sturdy. If I drop it, it's not going to break. That's why I like to use it. Some of you might be a little bit more careful than me, and you can buy a cheaper one, and you probably won't break it. But yeah, Dracast, D-R-A-C-A-S-T.
Question. Does this one only have like one kind of light, or it has like worm lights?
Yes.
And
so that's a very good question. What was your name?
Jenny.
Jenny. Jenny brought up a great question, and I hadn't even talked about this yet. But there are usually two different types of light, and I'm going to show them to you right now. So right now, I have the light. It's shining on the wall. And I'm going to do something. I'm going to ask you if you can see the difference. How did the light just change? What's different now?
It's cold.
It's cold, right. It's got more of a blue hint to it. Now what's different?
Warm.
It's warm. It's got more of a yellow orangey tint to it. All right? So most lights are going to be one color or the other. So if you go outside, the light is going to be cold. It's going to be tinted blue, because daylight is tinted blue. Or if you're into color temperature, daylight is 56,000 degrees Kelvin. But now if you go inside and you turn on a light bulb, that light bulb is going to be yellow, right? So with most video lights, you can get a light that is going to match for daylight, or what we call tungsten. Tungsten is that yellow indoor light from a light bulb. Now, what I like about Dracast is that I have the ability not only to just switch from one to the other, but I can go every color in between if I need to find just the right color to match the light in the room that I am. So the room that I was shooting my YouTube video in, I have a lot of Edison bulbs in my room. So the light from Edison bulbs is tungsten, so it's very yellow. So when my lights were on, I wanted to have this light match the color of the lights in my room. So I just turned it to 32,000 degrees Kelvin, or tungsten. Now, when you are looking for a light panel online, you don't have to get the Dracast ones. They're more expensive. There's a dozen perfectly good light panels that you can get that are way cheaper. But the thing you want to check when you're looking at different light panels and deciding which one to buy, are they dual color? So dual color means that you can switch between tungsten and daylight. You can switch between warm and cold. And that's a feature that you want to have on your light, because then you can shoot in any room. You can shoot no matter what color the lights are in that room. Also, yes?
See, if you use camera auto has the white balance.
Yes.
So how can you adjust? Why can you not just use the white balance to adjust the lighting?
That is a great question. What was your name?
Lily.
Lily. Nice to meet you, Lily. Great question, Lily. So to answer that question, I'm going to ask Well, do you want to have any lights on in the room, or are you just going to use these lights?
I think just use the light.
Okay, that's a good thing to do. And most of the time, that's what I do. But sometimes if I'm in a hurry and I just need to shoot a video in my room and I don't have time to go to this, my garage where my studio is set up or something like that, if I just need to really quick set up some lights and shoot, well then I also am going to use the light that's in the room. And so if the light bulbs that are already in the room are set to tungsten, and my light is set to daylight, and you have blue light and yellow light, it doesn't matter if how I set the white balance on my camera, because you're still going to see two different colors, and it's going to look weird. So, also, if you're just using these lights, you want them to all be the same color. So if I have 3 of my Dracast lights and they're all pointed at me, and 2 of them are set for tungsten, and 1 of them is set for daylight, it's going to look, part of me is going to look weird. And to the camera, to our eyes, it's not going to matter. But to the camera, it's going to look totally different. So all we're trying to do is trick the camera into seeing what looks normal to us. And one of the ways that we do that is by making sure that all the lights are the same color. So that's why it's important to change the color of your light before you turn on your camera. Now, I'm going to tell you what Lily was talking about, because this is important. How many of you are already familiar with white balance on your camera? All right, a couple guys in the back. So what Lily was talking about is on your camera, and I forgive me because I don't have a way to plug my camera into the projector and show you, but there is a feature on every camera called white balance, and that's where I can go, and if you guys, some of you in the front row might be able to see that my screen is changing color as I'm going through the different white balance settings. So sometimes it looks a little bit more orange, sometimes it looks a little bit more blue, and basically what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a symbol that says AWB. If I scroll down, there's a picture of the sun, there's a picture of a house, there's a picture of a cloud, a picture of a light bulb. How many of you guys have seen that on a camera before? Okay?
Never use it.
Never use it. And now you're going to know why to use it. It's because that is your white balance. So, as I mentioned before, if you're shooting outside, the light's going to look different. If you're shooting inside, the light's going to look different. If you're shooting on a cloudy day, the light's going to look different. If you're shooting outside but in the shadows, the light's going to look different. I see some people outside. Are they waiting to get in? Should I let them in? Come on in. Welcome, guys.
All right.
Thanks for coming.
We didn't want to bother you.
No, you guys are good. I didn't want you to be waiting outside and miss the whole thing. So as I was saying, depending on, even if I walk from this room out into the hall, the light is a slightly different color. And your eyes aren't going to tell the difference because your eyes know how to adjust. And they're going to adjust automatically, and everything's going to look normal to you because your eyes are more advanced than any camera that has ever been made. But your camera is going to tell the difference. I might shoot in here, and if I point this at David, he's going to look normal. But now if I walk out into the hall and I point it at David, he might look blue. And that's why I want to adjust my white balance. And I can change to the different settings in my white balance so that David looks normal. It's all about, again, trying to trick the camera into seeing things the way that our eyes sees them. So, does that answer your question about white balance?
Yeah.
That's a great question, Lily. So we're going to go back to talking about lighting. So, I brought with me today one light because I didn't have a whole lot of room in my box. But typically when I shoot a video, I like to use 3 lights. Has anyone ever heard the term 3-point lighting before? All right, again, what's your name?
My name's Tim.
Tim? Tim's our expert today. So next time you guys meet and I'm not here, you can ask all the questions to Tim. Tell you what, so I'm going to show you an example of three-point lighting. And Tim, would you mind coming up to the front with me?
Yeah, sure.
So Tim is going to be our YouTuber today. And would you mind having a seat? So, basically what three-point lighting is, three-point lighting means that you're going to have 3 lights on Tim. Now sometimes you have more lights, and sometimes you have less lights. But 3 is kind of the standard. It's the rule of thumb. And what we do when we start off with lighting Tim for our YouTube video is we're going to start off with what we call, try not to hit your foot there, what we call the key light. And the key light, very simply, is just the brightest light in the room. So I'm going to put the key light here over on Tim's right-hand side, and I'm going to point it down at him just slightly. And close your eyes, it's going to be bright. And that is our key light. So, you will notice, though, that if you're looking at his left-hand side, it's a little bit darker, right? Mm-hmm. That's okay. The key light is designed just to lighten up one side. Come on in, you guys. Find a seat. So the second light that I usually set up goes behind Tim. Yes?
What is the angle of the key light? It's going to be the 45 degree or?
Usually 45 degrees.
45 degrees.
So the way I think about it is it's 45 degrees laterally, and it's also 45 degrees vertically. Mm-hmm. Now, I can play around with this, and I can move this more to his front, closer to 0 degrees. Or I can move this more to the side, closer to 90 degrees, and I'll get a very different effect. But if you want just a plain, regular look, 45 degrees is a great place to start. The second light I'm going to do is, again, 45 degrees behind him. This is called the backlight, or the rim light, or the halo light. Everybody has a different name for it. But you guys can see that the back of his head has kind of an outline now. You guys can see his shoulders now. And typically, when you're lighting somebody, you want your backlight to be darker, not as bright as your key light. In fact, right now I'm at 50%. Sometimes I go all the way down to 40% if my key light is at 100. And you guys, one of the things that this does is this helps him to look more three-dimensional. So we can tell now, because this light is hitting the backside of him, that there is space between him and the background. And it causes your whole image to just pop right off of the screen. So key light is very important. A lot of times, if you don't have it, your subject might just blend into the background and it'll look very flat. So this really helps to just make your image pop and look more three-dimensional. So the third light that we set up in our three-point lighting is what we call the fill light. And the fill light is not as bright as the key light. So again, I'm probably going to run this at about 40% of what the key light is. And what this is doing, shining on his face, is it's filling in those shadows. So remember when we had the key light on and I was asking if you guys saw shadows on his side of his face? This helps to fill that in and make it more even. Now, you don't want it to be as bright as the key light. You want there to